Good morning. Welcome back to Ladybug Grace Bible in a Year edition. Today we're doing June 13th. We'll be in 1 Chronicles 26-27, Psalm 132, 1 John 3-5, and then Proverbs 13 is in a separate folder that you can listen to at your leisure. So let's get started in 1 Chronicles 26. The Gatekeepers. The divisions of the gatekeepers. From the Korahites, Meshelemiah, son of Kor, one of the sons of Asaph, Meshelemiah and sons. Okay, this is going to be a butchering of names again video. Zechariah the firstborn, Jediel the second, Zebediah the third, Jathniel the fourth, Elam the fifth, Jehonan the sixth, and Elihonai the seventh. Obed-Edom also had sons, Shemiah the firstborn, Jehozabad the second, Joah the third, Sakkar the fourth, Nathaniel the fifth, Amiel the sixth, Isaac, Issachar the seventh, and Pelaphal the eighth. For God had blessed Obed-Edom. Obed-Edom's son Shemiah also had sons, who were leaders in their father's family, because they were very capable men. The sons of Shemiah, Othai, Raphael, Obed, and Elizabad. His relatives Elihu and Shemachiah were also able men. All these were descendants of Obed-Edom. They and their sons and their relatives were capable men with the strength to do the work. Descendants of Obed-Edom, 62 in all. Meshelemiel had sons and relatives who were able men, 18 in all. Hosea the Merarite had sons, Shimri the first, although he was not the firstborn. His father had appointed him the first. Hilkiah the second, Tabaliah the third, and Zechariah the fourth. The sons and relatives of Hosaph were 13 in all. These divisions of the gatekeepers, through their leaders, had duties for ministering in the temple of the Lord, and just as their relatives had. Lots were cast for each gate, according to their families, young and old alike. Here we go. The lot for the east gate fell to Shelmiah. Then lots were cast for his son Zechariah, a wise counselor, and the lot for the north gate fell to him. The lot for the south gate fell to Obed-Edom, and the lot for the storehouse fell to his sons. The lots for the west gate and the Shalikath gate were on the upper road fell to Shuppim and Hosea. Gard was alongside of Gard. There were 6 Levites a day on the east, 4 a day on the north, and 4 a day on the south, and 2 at a time at the storehouse. As for the court to the west, there were 4 at the road, and 2 at the court itself. These were the divisions of the gatekeepers who were descendants of Korah and Merari, the treasurer and other officials. I'm up here if you're watching. Their fellow Levites were in charge of the treasures of the house of God and the treasures of the dedicated things. The descendants of Laden, who were Geshonites through Laden, and who were heads of families belonging to Laden the Geshonite, and were Jehieli, the sons of Jehieli, Zetham and his brother Joel. They were in charge of the treasuries of the temple of the Lord, from the Amorites, the Izrahites, and the Hebronites, and the Uzzites. Shobiel, descendant of Gershon, son of Moses, was the official in charge of the treasuries. His relatives through Eleazar, Rehabiah his son, and Jeshiah his son, Joram his son, Zikri his son, and Shelomith his son. Shelomith and his relatives were in charge of all the treasuries of the things dedicated by King David, by the heads of families, who were the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds, and by the other army commanders. Some of the plunder taken in battle they dedicated for the repair of the temple of the Lord, and everything dedicated by Samuel the seer and by Saul son of Kish, Abner son of Ner, and Joab son of Zeruiah, and all the other dedicated things were in the care of Shelomith and his relatives. From Izharites, Kenaniah and his sons were assigned duties away from the temple, as officials and judges over Israel. From the Hebronites, Hashabiah and his relatives, 1,700 able men, were responsible in Israel, west of the Jordan, for all the work of the Lord and for the king's service. As for the Hebronites, Jeriah was their chief according to the genealogical records of all the families. In the 40th year of David's reign, a search was made in the records, and capable men among the Hebronites were found at Jazer in Gilead. Jeriah had 2,700 relatives who were able men and heads of families, and King David put them in charge of the Reubenites, the Gadites, and half-tribe of Manasseh for every matter pertaining to God and for the affairs of the king. Chapter 27. Army divisions. This is the list of the Israelites, heads of families, commanders of thousands, and commanders of hundreds, and their officers who served the king and all that concerned the army divisions that were on duty month by month throughout the year. Each division consisted of 24,000 men. In charge of the first division for the first month was Jashobeam, son of Zabdiel. There were 24,000 men in this division. He was a descendant of Perez and chief of all the army officers for the first month. In charge of the division for the second month was Dodai, the Ahonite. Mikloth was the leader of his division. There were 24,000 men in his division. The third army commander for the third month was Benaiah, son of Jehoiada the priest. He was chief, and there were 24,000 men in his division. This was the Benani, who was a mighty warrior among the 30, and was over the 30 of his sons. Amizabad was in charge of his division. The fourth for the fourth month was Ashiel, the brother of Joab. His son Zebediah was his successor. There were 24,000 men in his division. The fifth month was the commander of Shamuth, the Israelite. There were 24,000 men in this division. The sixth of the sixth month was Ura, the son of Ikesh, the Tekonite. There were 24,000 men in his division. The seventh for the seventh month was Helez, the Pelonite, an Ephraimite. There were 24,000 men in his division. The eighth for the eighth month was Shibekiah, the Hushite, the Zerahite. There were 24,000 men in his division. The ninth for the ninth month was Abazir, the Athlonite, a Benjaminite. There were 24,000 men in his division. The 10th for the 10th month was Mahari, the Netophatite, a Zerahite. There were 24,000 men in his division. The 11th for the 11th month was Benal, the Pirathite, an Ephraimite. Sorry, cat knocked over a chair. I don't even know where I was now. I'll just start here. Leaders of the tribe. The leaders of the tribes of Israel. Over the Reubenites, Eleazar, son of Zikri. Over the Simonites, Shephatiah, son of Makkah. Over Levi, Hashabiah, son of Chemiel. And over Aaron, Zadok. Over Judah, Elihu, a brother of David. Over Issachar, Omri, son of Michael. Over Zebulun, Izamiah, son of Obadiah. Over Naphtali, Jeremoth, son of Azriel. Over the Ephraimites, Hosea, son of Azariah. Over half the tribe of Manasseh, Joel, son of Pedaiah. Over half the tribe of Manasseh to Gilead, Iddo, son of Zechariah. And Benjamin, Jeziel, son of Abner. Over Dan, Azriel, son of Jeroham. These were the leaders of the tribes of Israel. David did not take the number of men 20 years old or less, because the Lord had promised to make Israel as numerous as the stars in the sky. Joab, son of Zeruiah, began to count the men, but did not finish. God's wrath came on Israel on account of this numbering, and the number was not entered in the book or the annals of King David. The king's overseer. Azamariah, son of Adiel, was in charge of the royal storehouses. Jonathan, son of Uzziah, was in charge of the storehouses in the outlying districts and the towns, the villages, and the watchtowers. Ezri, son of Caleb, was in charge of the workers who farmed the land. Shemiah the Ramonite was in charge of the vineyards. Zabdi the Shiphomite was in charge of the produce of the vineyards for the wine vats. Baal-Hanan the Gederite was in charge of the olive and the sycamore fig trees in the western foothills. Joash was in charge of the supplies of olive oil. Shitrai, the Sharonite, was in charge of the herds grazing in Sharon. Hey, great name. Shepherd, son of Abdiah, was in charge of the herds in the valleys. Obil the Ishmaelite was in charge of the camels. Jadiah the Meronite was in charge of the donkeys. Jahiz the Hagrite was in charge of the flocks. All these were the officials in charge of King David's property. Jonathan, David's uncle, was a counselor, a man of insight and a scribe. Jehiel, son of Hakmoni, took charge of the king's sons. Ahitophel was the king's counselor. Hushai the Archite was the king's confidant. Ahithophel was succeeded by Jehoiada, son of Benaiah and Abiathar. Joab was the commander of the royal army. I'm going to end the video here and do 2 parts again because this is a lot, and continue the day with the rest of it. I'll be back.